Welcome to the final segment of this course, Futures of DH. I hope the modules so far have given you a whistle-stop tour of the many facets of digital humanities, and I hope this is a good entry to the field. The course is meant as an entry point, and it's not exhaustive, but it's meant to begin thinking really about what we can actively do in the humanities through collaboration, making, and displaying. For the end of this course, where I locate our questions are, how do we narrate the contemporary in individual, institutional, and technological terms? DH in India has been very different from the university-sanctioned spaces of its practice in other parts of the world. The DH Lab might have been imagined as a site supported by expertise, tech, and resource where digital humanities takes place. But when you explore practices on the ground, as we did in our book, we realize we're seeing a very different side of digital humanities. In India, while the field is still young, the excitement around digital tools and what they afford is underscored by real-world need. Tracing digital humanities in India is to unearth a form of learning by doing. Whether through crowdsourced projects or a new curation of data and public culture, the larger public is implicit in the activation of new possibilities for multilingual and public historical work. To understand that India is the youngest country in the world, right? It would seem, and yet today the total count of universities is only around 1,000, that this demographic, will not be served by universities alone. It indicates that the university system alone is far from capturing aspiration and contemporary expression in any exclusive way. When we look back at the history of DH in India, we'll see that in action we've had computational traditions in the humanities span popular creations like Project Madurai, which was a digitized collection of ancient Tamil classics, the Punjab Digital Library, which was crowdsourced also, and of course Bichitra, a digital rendering of Tagore's works, created from Jadavpur University. As tools change though, possibilities will also change. And so this was not a course that served to impart the knowledge of how to build in technical terms, but rather it takes a very long look at where we've been in order to see where we can go. There are skilling up schools available online and also run by Dharti, where this knowledge can be gained. There is another resource, Daria, from the EU. And in these summer and winter schools, I'm sure you can learn tools like Tableau or story maps for interactive storytelling. And you can use spatial applications, for instance, to tell, stories about Indian history or map pilgrimage routes and do many things, right? All of this is very exciting to undertake in classrooms also as activities. And when I think of the work of PARI, the People's Archive of India, they have taken their own archival curation to create an educational vertical called PARI Education. Now, future infrastructure challenges could be met by the engagement that we generate. And I'm sure with young people especially, right, we can imagine projects like the Australian one, Trove, that leverages crowdsourced participation and co-editing, right, in a Wikipedia-like format. Many cities today support open data meetups and wiki hacking editathons. And in India, we've also focused so much now on Indian languages from a public perspective to unleash yet more possibility. I want to reiterate that much beyond the university, exciting innovations are underway by a very diverse set of practitioners. These experiments are really altering the landscape of how we document, teach, publish, and how we gain access to knowledge. By accessing some of the digital resources in classrooms in India, we too can embark on a pedagogical challenge in real time that will span these efforts within and outside universities. In times that are, important for open access, we're also witnessing the rise of so much crowdsourcing and peer-enabled creation through, a multiplication of so many forms of authority. While our first anthology, Exploring Digital Humanities in India, explored the turn to the digital across institutions and sectors in India. This book came in 2020, so we were looking at news, radio, the National Museum, things like Asia Art Archive, and many more, especially oral history and archiving practices that are very local. The next turn, right, has invited more reflection on the humanized uses of the digital in India. While the digital divide abounds in many ways in our country, the excitement around digital tools and what they afford has really produced a whole new possibility. We're seeing with, especially publics, all kinds of co-creation. And this is changing conversations as this is opening up across Indian languages, across different media. And scholarship itself really is being reimagined. So nomenclature aside, no matter what you think of the term digital humanities, it is my argument that it serves a much larger and much more diverse community of practice than merely academics. Today, through open data, researchers are able to digitally trace and catalog many archives of knowledge. Communities are involved in co-creating in the public domain, and this even includes things like scrutiny of governments, cross-checking media, fact-checking, and of course the dissemination of academic publications to many audiences. So in many ways, participatory group work, for instance, in the classroom can focus on many things like the use of indigenous languages, for instance. And the idea is really not to sort of delimit what can be, but to generate new data sets, to catalog information better in the digital, and to create this knowledge in an interoperable fashion. We can create public engagement by exploring new uses of social media, deploying oral possibilities for multilingual history and narrative, and co-creating public history through crowdsourcing to visualize and advocate for issues. To name a few historical barriers, right, to scaling up digital humanities, 3 things have stood out in the Indian context. The first has been the historical barrier thus far to accessing higher education in any language other than English. This, of course, has been changed by the NEP, but we'd like to see this change in the research ecosystem. The second is that access to an indigenous university publishing system has not been very robust, and so allied resources and allied infrastructure is something that we need to reimagine, and it's a cost that perhaps needs to be borne, by many other institutions also. And the third is the limit to archival access. That has been a limit to global archival access, of course, but also to funding and exposure. Now, currently, there are several nudges at trying to incorporate the digital into traditional research and pedagogy, but the fact remains, as scholar Shahana Upadhyay says in her recent article on digital ethnography in the Economic and Political Weekly, that we must inhabit the digital to examine the digital. To attempt to explore these new practices of digital humanities, we take a view that what happens outside the classroom in India is perhaps more important than what happens inside. I really hope you'll take a look at the additional reading lists and resources provided to supplement these videos and find many more answers to many of these questions. Please feel free to reach out to us should you have any doubts, ideas, or new ways to collaborate and to make this into a two-way conversation. All the very best to all of us in our journey in digital humanities.